I'm going to drop this down a little bit, make it a little easier to center. Hello, everyone. Today is the 6th of March, 2020, and it's interesting how, even though I don't want to, I end up having to make these videos. Hello, everyone, as you come in. Hello, hello. Welcome. I don't know how many of you have been listening to Monograph and his coding and decoding work with what he is anticipating to be some major developments starting this Monday and continuing on through April about the 19th or 20th. Now, a lot of people say he's crazy, and a lot of people say, he's going nuts because of all the things that are going on. Like Joe Duff there saying, Monty's out there. I want to just say that Monty is extremely intelligent, as I've said. He puts things together better than most people, and sometimes it does sound crazy. But the prophets of old were considered to be crazy. So I wouldn't totally dismiss what he's saying right now. I'm not certain that his conclusions are correct. He's looking through a glass darkly. He calls himself a remote viewer. Whether that's true or not, I don't know, but he's been pretty good with some things. And he's pulling out these codes from the New World Order, which is the Old World Order, and the elites and the Illuminati, etc. And I don't think that he's too far off. I think his lamenting, his concern that this is the end of things is probably too far. What am I talking about? Well, you can see I've titled this video, The Tunnels of the Elite, the Catastrophe in the Tunnels of the Elite, because I wanted to directly address what he's saying. And I'm not saying he's wrong. God bless Monty for having the courage to bring these things out, even though he may not fully understand the end result. I'm not saying he doesn't, but he's not talking about that. I am going to talk about that now. Isn't it interesting that Trump has kept us busy with hopes, with hopium, saying he's going to do things and then using every excuse in the world to keep from doing the things that could save our republic and maybe even the world? Concentrating on the financial aspects, but forgetting totally about the perfect law of liberty. And a lot of you won't want me to be saying that. But that's essentially what's been happening. He's had 3 years with the help of things like Q and the cheerleaders in the Republican Party, people like Sean Hannity, Sarah Carter, Dan Bongino, on and on and on, giving him every excuse in the book for not being able to do what he said he was going to do. And if you listen to Mark Pantano, which I have suggested that you do, you would understand what I'm talking about, especially on the situation on illegal immigration and immigration as a whole. But that's not the only thing. We have this peace thing going on with Afghanistan, and no sooner was it signed than we bombed a group of Taliban because they supposedly attacked Sheriff of YouTube. I'm going to get rid of you next time I can. I can't do it on here, but I'm going to get rid of you. You're obviously a troll, probably a government infraguard crypto warrior, cyber warrior, because you're the one that doesn't make any sense, and that's all I'm going to say about you. But you're gone next time I have the chance. As a matter of fact, if there's a mod here, and if you want to throw Sheriff of YouTube out of here, you got my blessings, okay? I doubt there are any mods on here right now because this is a weird time for me to be doing this. Okay, back on the subject matter. I won't let him get me off course again. So we've had all of these things, all this put off. Sessions is going to do it. This person's going to do it. Barr is in now, and he's going to do it. And the only people, and then Durham, right? And now everything is being put off. Thanks, tinfoil hat. Everything's being put off until spring. Remember, Barr said, well, we're not going to expect a report from Durham until late spring or early summer. Apparently, Trump has said that the coronavirus won't matter after April. Okay, even Monty pointed that out. What is this thing with everything being pushed to this summer, this late spring or summer? Well, I'm not certain, but I'm not impressed with Trump, and I consider him to have been just what I thought, a placebo to keep us all pleased and happy, believing that things are going to happen with the help of all the conservative uh, cheerleading. And I'm not going to name any other names. I could name a whole lot that I'm very disappointed in, but not surprised, even in the alternative media, who have given him every excuse in the book. This thing with the district courts is explained very well by Mark Pantano. The federal district courts were created by Congress. They are not, the president is not subject to them. But at any rate, so Monty has been talking about this event that's going to happen starting in March 9th on Monday, and then continue on with possibly some type of an impact in the Atlantic Ocean in April. Whether it's done by a nuclear weapon or an asteroid doesn't really matter. The point is that some sort of event's going to happen there. Now, these things have been predicted in a lot of places. Okay, you've seen the illustrations with the big tidal wave hitting New York, and you've had the movies and the books and all that about these different types of catastrophes. I'm not relying on those from what I'm going to talk about here. I do want to address what Monty said and his concerns because I believe that they're correct. Again, what I differ with him on is the outcome. So, right up front, I want to read a few things to you. And this is out of the Bible. Those of you who don't want to hear it, please go away. I think you'll be making a big mistake if you do. But go ahead and go away if you want. I've talked to you about Isaiah. You know that these elites are a lot of people are saying, well, how come all of these CEOs are resigning and leaving their companies? Because they're going away to get ready for what's about ready to happen. Okay? They're getting ready to get away from this thing that's happening. They're fleeing to these bunkers, to these islands of refuge, these redoubts. And as Monty said, and I've seen that. I was there when they started the construction on the underground tunnel system there under the Denver International Airport. I remember that. I remember seeing it and knowing exactly what was going on. So that's where they're going to hide, okay? That's where they think they're going to be safe. Let me read you some things. This is out of Isaiah. Remember, I consider the Bible to be a playbook for the evil and the good. And I consider Isaiah, Yeshayahu is how you say it in Hebrew, I consider him to be the real deal. Him and Daniel and Ezekiel primarily, and Malachi, and there's some others, but those are the ones I really go to a lot. Now, even Jesus is quoted as having said, "Greater are the words of Isaiah." Okay. Let me read you a few things. I'm going to be reading, for those of you who want to follow along, Isaiah 2:19, Isaiah 2:21. Isaiah 7:19, and Isaiah 57:5. And after I read these, I'm going to tell you what they're talking about. Let's start with 2:19. And actually, I'm going to start just a few verses before that. I'm going to actually start at verse 17, but I pointed out the important ones about this thing about tunnels and holes in the rocks. Listen. Verse 17, this is Isaiah 2, verse 17. I'm going to read through, 22. I think I'll read that far. And the loftiness of man shall be bowed down, and the haughtiness of men shall be made low, and the Lord alone shall be exalted in that day. And the idols he shall utterly abolish. And they shall go, listen to this, and they shall go into the holes of the rocks and into the caves of the earth, for fear of the Lord and for the glory of his majesty, when he ariseth to shake terribly the earth. In that day a man shall cast his idols of silver and his idols of gold, which they made each one for himself to worship. This is the elite. To the moles and to the bats. Ooh. This is very important. Consider the locusts and all that's been happening in Egypt today and in Saudi Arabia. to go into the clefts of the rocks and into the tops of the ragged rocks for fear of the Lord and for the glory of his majesty when he ariseth to shake terribly the earth. Cease ye from man, stop worrying about these idiots, whose breath is in their nostrils, for wherein is he counted of. Okay, that's 219, concentrating on 219 and going through 221. Okay, because I mentioned both of those. 219 and 221. Why did I raise those in particular? Because of the phrases holes in the rocks. Now let's go to Isaiah 7:19. In 7:19, that's the major verse, but I'm going to start a little ahead of that, okay? And let's start at and a lot will be aware of this because this particular chapter is considered to be the prophecy of Jesus being born, being called Emmanuel a lot. But I'm skipping down from that, and I want to go to this. Let's start at verse 18. And it shall come to pass in that day that the Lord shall hiss for the fly. Whoa. What were flies in the days of ancient Egypt? Mosquitoes, and of course, locusts come into it, these different plagues. So let's read this. This is about what's going to happen in our day. You can see it in Saudi Arabia, and these things are going to show up in another place. Okay? They're going to show up in another place where these elites are going to hide. They think they're going to be safe. And it shall come to pass in that day that the Lord shall hiss for the fly that is in the uttermost part of the rivers of Egypt, and for the bee that is in the land of Assyria. And they shall come and shall rest all of them in the desolate valleys and in the holes of the rocks where these people are hiding, and upon all the thorns and upon all the bushes. In that same day shall the Lord shave with a razor that is hired, namely by them beyond the river, by the king of Assyria, the head and the hair of the feet, and it shall also consume the beard. You can read the rest of that chapter, okay? I want to explain what's happening here. Let's go to the Hebrew. This is going to fascinate you. In Isaiah 2:19 and 2:20, the word for hole means is tsur. It means a cliff, a rock, or a boulder. In those two verses, 219 and 221, the word for hole is makalra. Get what this is. It's a cavern. It's a cave. It's a den. Now let's go to Isaiah 7:19 and 57:5. The word there for hole, for rocks, is silah. Silah, and it means a stronghold or a fortress. You see, something that's built as a stronghold or a fortress. Another word is nokek, and it means literally to bore. To bore. In other words, a man-made boring. What are they doing in these tunnels? They're boring. How did Isaiah know that? Another word that they use there, in Isaiah 42:22, I believe. Let me go look that up. Okay, I want to read that because I missed that one apparently. 42:22. I believe this is the one where they talked about taking the children and sacrificing them. Remember all these pedophiles? 42:22. I'm pretty sure that's what that is. Oh, it's not 22. What? I can't even read my own handwriting sometimes. Maybe it's 27. Let me see here. 42. It must be 12. Yeah, well, I don't know why I do that. I can't even read my own handwriting sometimes. The point is that there's another word for this hole in the rock, and it's core. That's in the Hebrew, core. And it means a cavity, a den, or a cave. And again, to bore. Man-made, in other words. And then finally, that comes from the root, which is kur, which is a crevice of a serpent. So the root word for core, which is a cavity or a cave that's been bored, the root for that is kur, which is a crevice of a serpent, a cell of a prison. There's another verse in Isaiah, and it says that these people that go hide in these places will beg that the rocks come in and bury them. Why? That's a cell for a serpent. That's their prison. They're going to die in there. So what's happening here? These people are building these redoubts, these tunnels and systems, thinking it's going to save them from what's coming. That they're creating. Remember, I said almost every disaster that happens to mankind is caused by mankind. It's not that God causes it. It's just that God sees what's happening, and he's going to use it to his advantage. And this is one of them. So they're out there building these tunnels. And you might ask, well, Roy, why are you telling them? Why, they'll take some corrective action. They won't do this. Oh, no, 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 no. You think they're listening to me? No, no. You're listening to me. Your heart and your mind is saying, this is something important. What Monty has said is important. He just doesn't see the end result. This will end up destroying about a third of mankind, which very much saddens me. So many good men, women, and children. But by the same token, it's going to be mostly the people that don't have the Spirit of God in their heart and their mind. So, God's going to be the judge in this. You've got to take care of yourself as best you can. But these people that are going into these bored holes in the rocks to get away from this, the rocks, they're going to be infested with bats, moles, locusts, spiders. Something in that regard is going to happen in those tunnels, and they're going to wish they were dead and then beg that those things would fall in on them. Thus saith the Lord, not me. I was wondering whether I should come on and do this at this time of the morning because so much is getting ready to happen. People want to go listen to Alex Jones, and you got Dan Bongino and all these. Remember, these people are going into places that were prophesied that they would make, that they would bore these caves in the rocks on their own. These are their creation, and they will be destroyed in them in the end. Yeah. Well, it was like on Epstein's Island. Somebody's asking me about the kids in the caves and the tunnels up there in Washington State or wherever it was. Yeah. Well, look at the Epstein Island. We know that they were doing this stuff down below the surface of the earth in these dungeons, basically, because they think God can't see them there. Okay. That's all I have. I want you to go and look. If you have a Strong's Concordance and a Gesenius, I've showed you these before. Strong's Concordance gives you every word that's used in the King James Version and in the English, and then gives you the Hebrew word itself, and then you can go look it up for yourself. You don't have to take my word for it, okay? Get that, and then get a Gesenius. If you don't already have one, that's the Hebrew lexicon, and you can go in there and you can decipher the meanings of the words even better. But basically it comes down to that these holes in the rocks that Isaiah is talking about in Isaiah 2:19, 2:21, 7:19, 57:5, and in the one that I've misnumbered here about having taken the children of the clefts of the rocks and killing them there, is all talking about places that they have created. They are man-made caves. Okay? That's what they are. All glory to God. I'll say that today. What am I going to say? We don't know what the absolute truth is here. We can't, because what we're discovering is what's in our own heart, who we really are. So everything is being made right now to put us off guard. The elites, including Trump, I've now decided, have been trying to placate us and keep us busy and all these other things so that they can finish their work in the 5G, in the coronavirus, probably the mutations, I don't know. But certainly these other events that they're planning, starting possibly, I think Monty's probably right, starting next week and going on through into April and then the summer. Possibly. Very possible. All right. This is the time of the great deception. Remember, even in the New Testament, it talks about that. It says, and the Lord shall send them strong delusion that they believe a lie. Do I know the absolute answer? Oh, no. No. But I'm balancing what I'm seeing with my good friend Isaiah, Yeshayahu. And of course, the man that you would know as Jesus Christ, Yeshua HaMashiach, or some people say Yeshua HaMashiach. The real name is Yehoshua. His real name was Joshua. Jesus is the Greek version. His real name was Joshua, like the Joshua of old, who worked with Moses. That's his messianic name. His actual name in everyday life, most likely, was Joseph, with the nickname of Yossi. And he was the Tacheb. He was the great restorer, who said, take his name upon you and become like him. He didn't even want you to worship him. He said, worship God. Right? But that's all details. The most important thing, love neighbor as thyself, and love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, mind, and strength. That's number one, love thy neighbor as thyself. I've said it before. Rabbi Hillel, about 50 to 100 years before Jesus, said, when a student asked him if he could explain the whole of the law, as the student stood on one leg, and Hillel said, that's easy. Do not that which you hate to your neighbor. Then about 50 to 100 years later, Jesus said the same thing, but he said, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. The two great commandments upon which all of the law and the prophets are built are love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, might, mind, and strength, and thy neighbor as thyself. That's the whole of the law and the commandments. You don't need to be involved in all the legalese. You just abide your life in those two things. We're going down, ladies and gentlemen. This is it, I think. I think Monty's got it right. They've got to take it down, like we've been saying. They have to destroy everything to try to keep their power, but it's going to backfire on them in the end. A lot of us are going to suffer through this. Just be prepared in your heart and your mind. As Monty said, get right with God. I've even heard Alex Jones say that. You know, whoever your Lord is, however you view him or it, do that. Just acknowledge that, it's going down, outfield trash. I'm sorry, it is. It's inevitable. It's inevitable. One way or the other, it's going down. We're done. Live well today, make plans for the future, because just like Nineveh, if enough people repent, which is basically what Monty was saying too, this can change if the people wake up. If enough people repent, like they did in Nineveh, prophecy and those things are not set in stone. They can be changed by repentance and by some other things. So, yeah, we have two paths, okay? But I think we're past the point of no return. I've said that before. Okay, I'm out of here for now. I'm sure Alex Jones is on already with maybe some good stuff, maybe not. Dan Bongino and all those others, and a lot of those folks on Twitter, I have a lot of respect for. The Twitterites that do those long threads. Some of them are very good, like I've said. Undercover Huber, The Last Refuge, Technofog, etc. But a lot of them are cheerleaders for Trump, and that's all they are. And, AJ has too many commercials, Liza Jean. By the way, Liza Jean, can you throw, oh man, who was that? I asked any of the mods that were on there, because I can't do it on my phone, to throw him off. I already forgot. Oh, um, help me out here, somebody. Who was that I said to throw off? Who was that? And when I say throw, I mean to ban him from the channel. Okay, we don't need him. Yeah, Sheriff of YouTube. Thank you, Lazarus Carroll. Oh, bless you, bless you. Yeah, Liza Jean, if you could throw off Sheriff of YouTube forever, he doesn't need to be here. And all he is an obstruction. Okay. God bless you. God bless yours. Pray, prep, pray, stay out of the way. That's really our job at this point. Okay. I can hide for the show. Okay, that's okay, Liza Jean. Yeah, anything you can do. I'll try to ban him later. Okay. All right. Thanks all. We'll talk to you next time. They're building their own tombs, ladies and gentlemen. That's what's really happening. They're building their own tombs. They've been here to test us to see where we would fall. And I don't mean fall like be defeated. I mean what side we would take. They're here to test us, our hearts and our minds, to see if we're receiving God's Spirit. We're not going to receive it perfectly, but it's what's in our hearts and minds, our intents, okay, that are important. That has been defined now, and that's where we are, okay? Well, I'm getting a call, so I'm going to have to go, all right? Uh, Thanks again, everybody. Choose the right and stay out of the darkness, okay? All right, we'll see you later. Thanks so much for coming. Sorry about the noise here. Like I say, it's an incoming call.